Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Interviews.
My name is Mr. Sanders. I teach English 12.
So, Mr. Sanders, what do you know about the Israeli and Palestine conflict?
I don't know much about the details. I do know that it is a religious war, I believe, between the Jewish nations and the Palestinian nations.
So that's how you think it started?
I believe it was after World War II, there was some demarcation as to whether the Jewish nation should have its own country or not. I believe.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders.
You're so welcome.
My name is Ted DiBiase Hamaker. I teach junior high science.
Well, hello.
Hello, Miss Mary.
What was it?
Ted DiBiase Hamaker.
Okay, yeah.
Or Mr. Hamaker for short.
Well, okay. What do you know about the Israeli and Palestine conflict?
Well, I know that it started a long, long time ago, and that the Palestinians, they took a gold cup away from the Israelis, and this gold cup had a lot of value, and this value of this cup made the Israelis very angry. So that's why it's an ongoing discussion, and they battle with each other like Royal Rumble style.
And what do you think was the main root on how it all started?
Definitely that golden cup is very important to both sides. This side says the cup is mine, the other side says no, the cup is ours, so they steal it back and forth from one another. It's just an ongoing battle.
Okay, well, thank you. And thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Mr. McClintock. Last time I checked, teach 7th grade social studies.
Okay, hi, Mr. McClintock. What do you know about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict?
Well, I've been there. I've seen those places, been to both those places. I know that there's a lot of tension still. There's a lot of political tension more than there is religious tension. Yeah.
How do you think the conflict started?
I think that it was a food fight that got out of control, but that's just a theory. Most people think that it has to do with Jewish people coming back to Israel and, well, Palestine, and people being relocated because of that, and the land that's involved has to do with the conflict today. I mean, the fact that you have two different groups of people that want the same area of land, it's a source of a lot of problems. This is an awesome microphone.
Thank you.
Misconceptions.
Hey Audrey, you studying for that test?
No, I already knew it, so I didn't. This conflict has been going on since ancient times.
That's actually wrong. It started on May 14, 1948.
The conflict is hard to resolve because of the war surrounding religion.
Well, even though religion makes part of the conflict, it's actually not laid in power.
Whatever. Muslims and Jews can't live together in harmony.
Okay, I don't mean to keep correcting you, but before the war even started, Muslims, Christians, and Jews were able to live together in the years of 1516 through 1918. I mean, the Jews and Arabs lived together in harmony in southern Europe, Spain, and Jerusalem itself.
It's really getting annoying, Jenna. Israelis are migrating to the West Bank for religious reasons.
But my notes say that even though some are, the people are also moving for politics and cheap housing. The problem here is that it's illegal to international law.
Background information. Welcome to this beautiful morning on Channel 6. It is a bright and beautiful sunny day, and we are going to talk about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict. Join us today with Audrey Cleek, Taylor Smith, and James Huff.
Welcome to the Channel 6 Morning News.
Join us today as we talk about the Israeli and Palestinian conflict.
To start off with, conflict began the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948.
It only goes back a century.
The original country was Ottoman and was originally religiously diverse and lived in peace.
Wow.
After World War I, the Ottoman Empire crashed and France and Britain started taking over the Middle East.
Then came the Holocaust.
That's tragic.
In 1947, the United Nations provided a plan to divide Israel into two separate states, one for Jews, Israel, and the other for Arab, Palestine.
Jews accepted it and Arabs did not.
Arab declared war on Israel.
The new state of Israel, the Jews, won the war, but took too much land in 1948, creating a massive refuge for Palestinians.
Wow. In 1967, the Arabs and Israel fought another war called the 6 Days War.
Join us tonight as we continue our discussion over the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
Welcome back to Channel 6 Nightly News as we continue our discussion. Again featuring Jenna Lee and myself, the very beautiful Kate Sperry.
Welcome back! Thank you for joining us again tonight as we continue our discussion about the Israeli-Palestinian conflict.
A rewind back to this morning. When the war was over, Israel won over even more land.
Israel and Egypt signed an agreement in 1978 called the Camp David Accords, and Israel gave back Sinai as the peace treaty.
How considerate of them.
Other Arab states gradually made peace with Israel.
But Israel still had Palestinian territory, which caused a conflict with the Israel and the Palestinians, as you all may well know. The PLO wanted to end the Israel state entirely.
Fighting went on for years. On April 21st, 1982, Israeli raided Lebanon. Jews started moving in on areas where Palestinians lived for reasons of religion, politics, or cheap housing.
These settlements forced Palestinians to leave their land, their homeland. Like, what the heck? Gets me fired up sometimes. Arab fury boiled into the first Intifada. In 1987 through 1993, protests and boycotts and even violence occurred. Many Arabs died.
In Gaza, Palestinians did not agree with the PLO and created the Hamas, which is much more violent. Leaders from both sides signed a peace treaty called the Oslo Accords in 1993. It allowed the Palestinians with a little bit of freedom to govern themselves. The Hamas didn't like this and set off suicide bombs.
That's a bit extreme.
I don't like it.
Israel stopped trying and built walls.
Predicting the future? Donald Trump, maybe?
Donald Trump. Anyways, Israel gives back Gaza, how considerate again, and builds suffocating walls around it. That is how we know it today. Palestine's violence is only hurting themselves, so why do they even try? And Israel's just live their normal lives. So thanks for joining us again tonight. And
That is all we have for you.
And I hope you got a better understanding of this conflict.
Catch us tomorrow morning as we predict what hurricane might be coming next.
Thank you. Description of issue.
Conflict began with the establishment of the State of Israel in 1948.
1948.
Jews were migrating there for religious, political, and cheap housing issues. Europe wanted to establish a national homeland in what was then an Arab and Muslim majority territory into the Ottoman and later British Empire. The Arabs resisted, seeing the land as rightfully theirs. An early United Nations plan to give each group part of their land failed, and Israel and the surrounding Arab nations fought several wars over the territory. Today's lines largely reflect the outcomes of two of these wars, one waged in 1948 and another in 1967. In 1967, they fought the Six-Day War, and Israel won and added on to the land that they already had. In 1948, the Arab-Israeli War, Israel won and took another large amount of land. The Arabs kept up with the violence but were not strong enough to beat Israel and instead only hurt themselves. In 1993, Israel tried to make peace, but the Palestinians only made it worse. So Israel stopped trying and instead built walls around the Palestinians to keep the violence away from them.
Solution.
A solution to the Israeli-Palestinian conflict is to first cast aside the concept of an Israeli-Palestinian agreement in favor of an Israeli-Arab agreement. Jordan, Egypt, and the Gulf Cooperation Council must be partners to the agreement. The two-state solution is the end objective, but achieving this in the near future is unrealistic. The only realistic goal at this juncture is to create an interior arrangements to set the ground for a final agreement. Form a joint Palestinian Nation Authority, Jordan, Egypt, GCC team, formally authorized by the parties to negotiate with Israel on all aspects of arrangements, as well as the final agreement.
In continuation to James, PNA must first restore its control over the Gaza Strip. A port shall be created in the Gaza Strip. The Rafah crossing shall be opened. GCC military forces should deploy the Gaza Strip together with the PNA forces, and Hamas military force should be merged within the formal PNA force. All rockets must be disposed of and tunnel digging shall cease. Once stability is obtained in the Gaza Strip, negotiations regarding the final Israeli-Arab agreement should begin. This plan is likely to succeed because ending the conflict is strategic interest of the GCC. Egypt and Jordan, they have the keys needed to succeed.
And thanks for watching.